was considered to be a food of the gods by the Mayans and the Aztecs, right? The food of the gods, dropped here on Earth. Who's drinking the cacao right now? We all are. We are the gods. We are the gods that cacao is here to serve, that it is here to honor. We are the creator beings. And how is it that we create? We're creating with our thoughts. We're creating with our words. We're creating our reality through every thought and every word that is spoken. Now, as a scientist, I heard this a lot, and I need to see it to believe it. How many times have you heard that, right? We've used that we define our reality by what we see. And that really just shows how backwards our thinking is. Because the truth is that our sense of seeing is such a minute fraction of what reality actually is, right? So what we see physical matter, we see density in this form. And yet we are only 0.01% physical matter. We are 99.9% energy. Now I know this is hard to believe because we can hear it, we can feel it, we see it, we base all our reactions around it. But this is an illusion. So let's take this idea. You take all 7 point whatever billion people we have, nearly 8 billion people that we have on the planet, and you remove the space from them, and you condense all that matter, it comes out to be the size of a sugar cube. Okay? All nearly 8 billion people on this planet, the matter inside of them can fit into the size of a sugar cube. So what we are seeing with this physical reality is not the true nature of everything that exists. So let's take this idea of vision. There is a spectrum of light that exists. What we call the visible spectrum of light for humans is this little tiny bandwidth of light that we can see with our eyes. All of this still exists. We just don't see it, right? So it exists, it's there, but we only create our reality based on what we see in this visible bandwidth. And even that has its limitations, because what I see is not what you see. I can tell you that what I call red, my daughter calls orange. We have different photoreceptors that perceive light differently. And so my reality is very different from hers. And that's actually just dealing with the biology of us, right? The physical biology of these photoreceptors. But truly what influences what we see is our belief system. It's our beliefs that create the perception of what our reality is going to be. Now, I can tell you that, my early childhood was full of violence and death and fear and limitation. And I was taught to fear people and fear life. And that colored my perception of the world. I was scared of everyone and everything. I did not know how to interact with the world. And what did I draw into me? People who were constantly trying to take from me. Because that was what I believed of the world. That was my perception of the world. That everything is trying to take from me and it should be feared and I needed to protect myself. And I obviously have gone through such deep levels of healing in this, in these last decades or so. But in that time, over time, what was changing was my belief system. And as my belief system changed, I began to realize that I am not scared of the world or of people because we are all one and the same. Everybody is a reflection of me to some degree. And what am I choosing to reflect? Scientists call it the Big Bang, religions call it, the creation of Earth, and whatever you look at it, there was a nothing that became something. And we all came from that nothing, and we were part of that something that split into infinite numbers of pieces that we are just now reflecting out into the world, all these different aspects of that source consciousness. And so I began to look at people very differently. I began to look at the world very differently. I was changing my internal belief that there was this idea that everybody is just an aspect of goodness to some degree. What it is a choice that we make of where we choose to vibrate, where we choose to act from, what we choose to reflect. It's a choice. And sometimes people make those choices to vibrate in lower dimensions to help us remember who we are. They are not there for the purpose of evil for evil's sake, or for low density, or for low vibration consciousness. They are here in their own journey of awakening and remembering, and to remind us of who we are. We sometimes not only learn by example of what we want to be, but we learn example of what we don't want to be, of who we are not. What is not is just as important as what is. It's all part of the whole. And so we are remembering that we are all creator gods, that we are creating our reality with what we think, with what we speak. Doesn't necessarily always change the reality around us, right? There are people who do things in this world that is not appropriate, that is very wrong. It does not condone that behavior. But what it does is it invites us to look inside and see where is there a reflection of that behavior inside of us. Now, people still cut me off when I'm driving down the 10, like life still happens, right? Like people are still doing their thing, living their own life. And so they come, they drive, they cut me off. In the past, I used to be filled with road rage. I'd be screaming and be angry, be like, just annoyed. And what did I do? I carried that frequency out into the world with me. I go complain to him, I go complain to somebody else. I'm telling everybody about this story, of what happened to me and how horrible it was. And I'm spreading this energy with me. Now, when somebody cuts me off on the 10, it happens, right? I don't know what's going on. Yeah, maybe they're just super speeders and they're, unconscious and speeding through life. Maybe they're rushing to the hospital. Maybe I was in their blind spot and they cut me off. I've done that to people. It's happened. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they were doing or why. What matters is how we control our reactions, how we respond to that situation. Because we are the creators. We get to choose how we respond. The world is going to go on. It's going to do its thing. But we have a choice of what that frequency that we choose to carry out into the world is. Who do you choose to be? And this is where this is where we change our belief system. And our perception of the world is going to be based on our internal beliefs. This is how we are looking at creating what it is that we want to create in this world, is by looking at what our core beliefs are and how we choose to express that in this world. You can look out in this world today and you can see disease, you can see fear, you can see lockdowns, you can see food shortages, you can see people arguing, you can see that. Or you could see new systems of health being built. You can see community being built in new ways. You can see people learning to grow their own food and become self-reliant. You can see so much goodness and potential cropping up in the world. What you choose to see is going to be based on what is happening inside of you. And that's why it's really important to understand that what we see is not what we have to believe. It's not that I need to see it to believe it. It's I need to believe it in order to see it. I am the one that is going to create my reality based on the beliefs that I have of this world. And so I get to choose what I am going to see in this world. We are creating this reality. We are the creator gods. We get to create this new earth.